Laurie. Welcome back to MedTech Expo. I want to start by asking about how you often advocate for a design for compliance mindset rather than treating regulatory affairs as a late-stage box-ticking exercise. For startups walking this show today, what is the single biggest risk of leaving compliance to the very end?
Okay, so the risk is typically a commercial one. If you don't develop the right frameworks for your device and integrate compliance, then you can end up with a bit of a costly shock at the end. So you can engineer something, it could be beautiful, it could be functional, but then when it comes to making claims about the safety and evidencing objectively that it complies with standards and being able to put those crucial safety marks on there, such as CE mark or UKCA mark or passing the regulators, if you've not got that prepared in advance, then you've got a lot of work to do retrospectively, and that's when your time frame goes out and it can get quite expensive.
What are the biggest misconceptions that you encounter from UK-based manufacturers trying to manage compliance across both UK and EU frameworks simultaneously?
Okay, so it's important to note that they are different, and I think one of the key things we're seeing at the moment is that because there are quite a few changes going on, clients need to understand which market they're going to and in what order and in what priority. So it's quite closely tied to their commercial aspirations. At the moment, the UK will accept the CE mark. So depending on how close those launch dates are looking and your market access is looking, it might be prudent to actually, for example, go for the EU MDR. Or you might have to split it out. It might be that you go for the UK MDR first. It does depend on the commercial side of things and the work involved. So that'll be again tied to your device type, what classification it is, how much evidence you're going to have to generate. So all of that needs a proper project plan and mapping out first. So before they go rushing into the decisions, it's worth understanding A, your market, and then B, the pathway that they're going and like the work ahead. Yeah.
Med-Tech helps its clients bridge the gap from concept to production. What is the most important piece of advice you can give to an engineer to ensure their device doesn't just pass a laboratory audit, but actually can be manufactured reliably at scale?
Yeah, it's a classic, isn't it? So it's quite straightforward. The engineers, when you're making things in small quantities, we can get it really pristine. You can have it like quite tight tolerances. And you're only making a small number, so you can get everything spot on. When you start looking at increasing your production quantities, you might start feeling the pain of those tight tolerances then, or if, depending on how you've approached design for manufacture, you might find that adds unnecessary cost. It might add time frames on there for things like inspection, for example. So it's really important when you're developing your product that you look at, with some scrutiny, what features are critical to function, what are critical to quality, and plan accordingly then. So I think when it comes to scaling up, is getting that plan ahead of time so it runs a lot smoother. Yeah, it's quite a bit different manufacturing transfer scale up. Yeah, a bit of a different animal.
From a regulatory perspective, what upcoming trends or shifts in international standards should the industry be preparing for next?
So the recent one that we've seen is on the US side. So they've been integrating 13485 by reference. So ISO 13485 quality management systems. Their quality systems haven't changed since like the mid-90s. So it has been like a massive overhaul, and a lot of our US clients have found that quite a significant change. I think for me, because I've worked with it for 20 years, it's not been so disruptive, but that's been one of the recent things. And then, as I said earlier, we've got ongoing changes on the UK side. So there's a little bit of a waiting time as these things are coming through, as that pathway is being implemented by the MHRA, and they're releasing all these different statutory instruments. We've got different things that then hitting the deck as well. And then, of course, the standards themselves always change. I sit on 3 international standards committees with BSI. And yeah, we're constantly busy. There's like regular meetings going on. Yeah, there's a few different things. If I was giving advice, I'd say look at both the what's called the horizontal standards, so your process-related standards, and then also the vertical standards, which are going to be specific to your product, because they can change as well. Another example of ones that have changed recently will be biocompatibility. So back in November, some of those standards changed as well. So that might mean that people need to revise their technical documentation that goes with that evidence as well.
Now, we're asking companies on the show floor about the current state of UK MedTech. When you look at the UK MedTech landscape today, how are the smartest companies leveraging the strict regulatory frameworks as a springboard to innovate faster rather than treating them as a hurdle?
That's a really good question. I think it's taking a holistic approach and developing that framework from the outset. So rather than seeing it as some constraint, seeing it as something that actually supports your business. Because if you look at the standards for quality management systems, for example, a lot of it's really good practice. It's good engineering, good manufacturing practice. If you're doing design control, that again smooths things. It builds consistency, reliability, repeatability in your processes. So I think that would be it's almost like a mindset of thinking about quality and compliance as your friend rather than it constricting your ability to innovate. I've yet to see a project, and this again is spanning 20 plus years, where the regulatory has been a killer for a product. We've always been able to integrate it and work with it because ultimately we need to demonstrate patient safety when we're manufacturing these things. Yeah.
That's everything. Thank you very much for your time.